Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's board meeting. My name is Brad Gottschall. I am the Lower Paxton Township Manager, and in typical fashion, I'm going to give a brief overview of the agenda, particularly for the benefit of those watching at home this evening and who can't make it in. First, the board will recognize Mr. Roy Newsome for the outstanding number of years dedicated to the township while serving on the Planning Commission. Under old business, the board will consider change order number 1, closing out the 2019 Township Drainage Improvements Program. Then moving into new business, the board will move to appoint Mr. Robert Oakes to a vacancy on the Township Authority Board. Then finally, before acting on improvement guarantees and the payment of township and authority bills, the board will take into consideration Resolution 19-33, accepting the dedication of portions of Plowman Ridge and Devon Road of the Plowman Ridge development. And at that point, the board members are seated and prepared to begin business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gottschall. We'll call this meeting of the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors to order, and we will begin by asking everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Mrs. Lindsay.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll move now to the approval of minutes of the meetings of August 13th, August 20th, and September 3rd, 2019. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the minutes of August the 13th, 2019, August the 20th, 2019, and September the 3rd, 2019, as prepared and circulated.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Before we go to public comment, we're going to go outside of the order of the agenda a bit because we have a special presentation this evening for a very special person who has served Lower Paxton Township for many, 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 many years. And tonight we would like to express our appreciation to him on behalf of the Lower Paxton Township community. Actually, Mr. Roy Newsome has served our township for 26 years, and he's been on the Planning Commission since January of 1993. And Roy moved to Lower Paxton Township with his wife, Mary Grace, in 1969. Lower Paxton Township has been his home since that time. Over the last 26 years, as we all know, Lower Paxton Township has seen an incredible amount of growth. And Mr. Newsome's background and experience with the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development, as well as his service to FEMA and his role as a planning advisor to the Secretary of the Pennsylvania Department of Community Affairs, have all been an asset to our township with this growth. Mr. Newsome was actively involved in rewriting of the RRD ordinance and was heavily engaged in multiple comprehensive plans. God bless you for that. And we appreciate that. That is a long and arduous process, as the other members of the Planning Commission who are here will certainly attest. And we are all very pleased at Mr. Newsome's willingness to serve our township, and we are greatly going to miss your service. And with that, if you would come forward, we have a plaque for you. Would like to invite the members of the Board of Supervisors to come up, and the members of the Planning Commission who are here, if you would please come up and join us as well.
Probably in the middle.
Yes. Let's go over here by the township seal.
Stand on the seal.
Stand on the seal. Bottom of the seal room. So, gather around, everyone. Absolutely. Let's get everybody in here. Who's our official photographer? Okay, we probably need to maybe put one or two people on this side to sort of balance it out. If you can do that, come over and sit over here. Not sit, but stand. Yeah.
Yeah, stand side.
You're the guest.
You're the only one who wants to. You get to face forward here. So how do we look here, Brad?
That looks good.
All right. So Roy, on behalf of the Board of Supervisors and staff and Planning Commission and everyone involved, thank you.
hopefully your wife is watching.
Maybe it'll be in the rewind.
Oh, you'll be a YouTube phenomenon as well here. Are we turned on?
Sounds like it. I want to thank you all. This is really moving for me. Over 50 years ago, I was a planner in Atlanta, Georgia. And I came up here wanting to move and work in the north. And I really could not have picked a better place to put my roots down. And it's been good. And I want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to serve this township. I hunted when I came here for a community that was diverse. I wanted my children to be in an integrated school. And this was a Southside Elementary was an integrated school. Yes. And so we hunted a place to live because of the school. 2 young men who've gone on and been quite successful out of this school system. But I just want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to continue to serve for a long time on the Planning Commission. And I wanted to just encourage all of you to continue to use the Planning Commission and make sure that the Planning Commission is of great help to you, more than just in looking at plans and the such. They offer you actually a bit of protection from developers and others who would like to manipulate what you're doing. Send it to the Planning Commission. Let them take the load. Then consider what they recommend too. And I think it'll help everyone involved. So thank all of you for showing up tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roy, if I may, I sat on Planning Commission with Roy for 5 years, and I wanted to thank you for all that I learned from you, because you were a great colleague of mine, and you taught me a lot.
Any other comments?
Just to say thank you, Roy, for all of our time together. I appreciated it, both here and county as well.
Okay. Again, Roy, thank you. It's because of citizens like you that our township is such a great place. And a lot of people dedicate a lot of time to make that happen. So thank you again. With that, we will move to public comment. And public comment is for an item not on the agenda. If you're here to comment on an item on the agenda, we will have that comment at that time. And I would also like to announce that prior to this meeting and following this meeting, the township has met and will meet with the township manager to receive information. So with that, would anybody like to address the board on an item not on the agenda this evening? I still think we ought to put Mr. Murphy on the agenda.
I suggested that last meeting.
Yeah, it ought to be a regular agenda item because I understand that we have a very special presentation coming up in a couple days.
Good evening.
Evening.
It is the first of the month again, and this coming Thursday night, we're going to have our meeting. Now, there's a major change. Some of you may have heard about it, but Paul Rao was supposed to speak this coming Thursday night, and he had a slight accident around Thanksgiving Day, and he's unable to speak. So we rescheduled him for January. He and I actually saw him the Saturday before his accident, and he's very excited about coming and telling what it was like to have a service station in Lower Paxton Township for 50 years. It should be a very interesting discussion. But we always have a plan B. You can't have an organization in this township without having a plan B. So this week we're going to talk about Princess Whitefeather. Some of you may not have heard of Princess Whitefeather, but she is buried in the Winrick Cemetery in St. Thomas UCC Church. She was buried there on August 24th, 1939. She is the second cousin to Chief Sitting Bull, and her uncle is the Indian that's pictured on the nickel that was minted from 1913 to 1933 and is a collector's item now. Very few people remember her, but a couple weeks ago I spoke at the DAR, the Harrisburg chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and they asked me last year if I would come and tell the story of her. We've been studying her for a few years, and I think the people will find it very interesting, not over who she is, but also how she got to be where she is today. So this meeting should be interesting, but nowhere near as interesting as Paul Rao. So please mark your calendars for the second Thursday in January, because the first is the day after New Year's, and you'll enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as always, thanks to the Historical Commission for all the great work that you are doing as well. Would anybody else like to address the board on an item not on the agenda this evening? Okay, seeing no other public comment, we'll now move to chairman and board member comments. Board members, do we have comments this evening?
No.
No.
I have one.
Wow.
I have one.
The holiday season, holiday spirit's overtaken everyone already? Is that?
Myself and Representative Andrew Lewis attended the tree lighting in Linglestown on Sunday night in the rain. It was great to be there. We got a little wet, but it's all right. But I wanted to thank the firemen, the fire police, and the ladies' auxiliary. Great job serving the cookies and the hot chocolate. And Jay Magano from West Hanover Township, a supervisor there, him and his brother played the music. So, but we were there, and it was a good turnout.
Very good.
Just one quick thing. I see our police department is having another cops coffee and cars. It's Sunday at George Park, 8 to 11, if I'm not mistaken. So might be a little bit on the cool side, but I'm sure the coffee will be hot.
Okay, with
Mr.
that,
Mr. Chairman, I'm surprised Mr. Murphy didn't advertise for his wife for the Chris Kindle Market next the 14th.
Chris Kindle's Mart.
Closing Linglestown Road.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Ah,
Wow.
Day, and you can dance in the street with the German dancers.
Wow.
Okay.
somehow I'm
10
getting
to 5.
I'm getting the image of Gary and Lederhosen in the middle of the street in the square.
Dancing,
It's-
yes.
I'm a little worried about that.
Now, I thought that would be for announcements later on, but if we're doing them now, we might as well have people put on their calendar the Christmas tree lighting,
Yes.
This week.
which
Right.
is
Right, Friday.
which is Friday, 7 o'clock at the Friendship Center.
Right.
Okay. Good.
The township Christmas tree lighting, not to be confused with the gorgeous Linglestown Christmas tree lighting.
And Santa will be there on the fire truck. Hopefully they won't get a fire call like last year.
Well, for starting out not having any comments, we rebounded well.
I think we did rather well.
Yes. Would the manager like to chime in with any comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Sorry. Two items quickly, if I may. Just an update on the budget. The proposed 2020 budget has been duly advertised and stands available for public inspection for a period of 20 days. At next week's workshop session, the board is scheduled to adopt the. Actually, at next week's workshop session, I am scheduled to do a presentation of the proposed budget, which I will do as consistent with past practice and past years. And then finally, the board is scheduled to adopt the budget on December 17th, 2 weeks from now. So that is rolling along. And also, just from time to time, I would like to begin giving a snippet of information on the census. The census, as we all know, the board is very familiar with, is very important. The 2020 census is, even though it's not in the stage where most people in the public will see it, it is an ongoing process. Currently, the Census Bureau is in the process of hiring thousands of employees. I know there are some in the audience this evening, and they currently have a number of openings still available. So if anybody in the community is interested in serving for the Census Bureau in a variety of ways, feel free to reach out to them and inquire. Also, as we draw closer to Census Day 2020, every resident is encouraged to keep in mind that for every person that fails to self-count in that process, it results in the loss of $20,930 in federal health, education, infrastructure, and economic development dollars over the course of the 10-year census, the next census period. So again, $20,000 for every miscounted person is substantial for Lower Paxton and Pennsylvania in general. So we encourage every single person to fill out the application when it arrives to you. Other than that, I have nothing.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, just a footnote, Brad, to your comments. I don't know if any of the rest of you, but I have received in the mail, as I'm assuming others in the municipality have already received something. I received this past week something up from the Census Bureau.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we did. I did it.
You did not?
They only
I
took
guess
senior
I've been
members.
selected.
I was gonna say it might be an age thing. Love you, Gary.
Who has the Band-Aids? Whoa.
They only sent to people who were here for the first census. So that
Ben Franklin and I walk the streets of Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. With that, I think it might be a wise, I hate to say it, go on to old business. We have to take action on a change order. This is change order number 1 for the 2019 Lower Paxton Township Drainage Improvement Programs. Information, Mr. Godshall.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This change order number 1, prepares for contract closeout, reconciling the original bid quantities with the actual field measured quantities throughout the duration of the project. The result in this case, a decrease in the amount of $97,497.72, bringing the total actual contract price to $790,454.28. The change order submitted by the contractor Greenland Construction through our engineer has been recommended by, of course, the engineer and by staff.
Any questions, comments?
Mine is
Mr. Chairman, this one's very easy.
This one's very easy,
Definitely
yes.
times to decrease.
If you're
Is
ready
there a
for
motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve change order number 1 for the 2019 LPT Drainage Improvement Program and the reduction of $97,497.72.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
A very enthusiastic second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We'll now move on to new business. Our first item, we do have an unexpired term, that of Justin Eby on the Lower Paxton Township Authority Board. And we have before us Robert Oakes, who has stepped forward, a member of our community, and is interested in filling the vacancy on the Lower Paxton Township Authority Board. And with that, we would open the floor for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we appoint Robert Oakes to a vacancy on the Lower Paxton Township Authority Board for the unexpired term of Justin Eby.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions?
Question, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, and I forgot to ask Mr. Kutcha. What is the term for the unexpired? Is it 2 years? I can't remember, and I should. I apologize.
It would bring us to the end of next year,
So is it,
the end of 2021.
okay, I wasn't sure what the unexpired term was. Sorry, I apologize for not either calling and asking. I should have remembered that.
So it's 2 years then.
Is it a 2-year
think
term?
it's 2, but I'm not certain.
I'm actually, I'd have to get back to you. I'm actually, on second thought, I'm actually quite sure that it's the end of this year. Wait.
You mean 2020?
Yeah, the end of what's this year? 2019.
Brad, you're too young.
2020. The end of 2020, right?
See that, Gary? It's contagious.
Oh, I'll accept that as a positive comment, Norm.
And we did this to him in just a year. Suffice it to say, there's a year or two left on the term.
Right. It is for the unexpired term. Mr.
It is for
Chairman,
the
I'll call for the
unexpired
question
term.
on the motion.
Believe it or not, when we interviewed him, he had a memory.
So,
Can we have Mr. Oakes come up so we can introduce him?
would you like to come to the podium?
Yeah.
Well, let's have him come to the podium and introduce himself. And you weren't aware that we were going to do that, were you?
No, I wasn't.
So I'll tell you what. Since we have put you in this position totally unprepared, just tell us a little bit about yourself so folks know where you're coming from.
My name is Robert Oakes. I moved to Lower Paxton 15 years ago from New York, and I work in the sewer industry, and I thought it'd be a good idea to get on the sewer authority for Lower Paxton. And here I am.
Well, thank you for stepping forward and being willing to fill this role. Our sewer authority is, as you are well aware, very active with a lot of projects. So thank you for being willing to volunteer your time for it. We appreciate that.
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity.
I'm glad we didn't scare you away.
It's going to take more than that.
Well, before we get too far along, did we do a motion? No. Okay, let's do a motion. It is contagious. Well, we have Mr. Oakes here. Is there a motion to appoint him to the vacancy on the municipal?
We do have a motion.
He just
We
said
had
we
a
did.
second.
I said we did.
Oh,
I call for the question on the motion, Mr. Chairman.
this is what happens after you've had too much turkey over the last week. So with that, is there any questions or comments?
Just a comment. I appreciate your coming on the board because I expect you to be enthusiastic, dedicated, and committed.
I will be.
Before
Those are the adjectives.
before we forget where we are again, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Congratulations. and
Welcome.
aboard.
Welcome.
Welcome, Bob.
Thank you. Okay, well, that sort of went well. Okay, we do have subdivision and land development. We need to take action on Resolution 1933, and this would authorize the acceptance of portions of Plowman Ridge and Devon Road of the Plowman Ridge development. Mr. Godshall.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So, as happens from time to time, this resolution authorizes the acceptance and dedication of roadways for public utilization. Having reviewed the documentation, the township engineer, Public Works, and Community Development Departments both approve and recommend the dedication of portions of Plowman Ridge and Devon Road as presented in Resolution 19-33.
Okay.
Brad, I just had a question. Do you know, and you might not know, maybe Nick does, is that the total development now? Have we taken that over?
I'm not actually aware
Okay.
the entire portion, if it is the entire portion of
Okay. I was just curious because it's not real big back there, so I didn't know if we took the whole thing over yet.
I can find out and get back to you.
Okay. I was just curious because I know it's not a real big development, so, okay. Thank you.
And I assume the resolution is coming with staff's recommendation.
Correct.
Okay.
Any additional questions or public comment? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2019-33, which authorizes the acceptance of portions of Plowman Ridge and Devon Road of the Plowman Ridge development as presented and recommended by staff.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And that takes us to improvement guarantees, development agreements, plan reaffirmations, et cetera. We have six. We have an extension, a new one from the street dedication, a couple of reductions. Everything appears to be relatively normal. Any questions?
Mr. Gutschall, I did not see anything unusual, or is there anything that needs to be pointed out specifically about any one of them?
Not that I've been made aware of, nope.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the 6 improvement guarantees as listed, presented, and recommended.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye? Aye. That brings us to the payment of bills for Lower Paxton Township and the Lower Paxton Township Authority. Madam Treasurer.
Yes, I make a motion that we pay the bills of Lower Paxton Township and Lower Paxton Township Authority.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. And with that, we appear to be at the end of our agenda. Our next board meeting will be a workshop meeting 1 week from tonight. That's Tuesday, December 10th at 7 p.m. right here in this room. Any additional comments or announcements from the board? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
That could be a record.
That is close to a record.